I'm Cassandra Sullivan, but only my mother calls me that. To everyone else, I'm just Cassie. I was 28 years old when my perfect engagement party turned into something out of a psychological thriller. That night, I stood next to my fiancé Nathan, wearing a cream silk dress, surrounded by 70 smiling faces, and one I could never trust. My mother, Elizabeth, approached with 2 wine glasses. For the bride-to-be, she smiled. But something was wrong. Her eyes didn't match her mouth. The red wine she handed me smelled off, like medicine. My stomach turned. In a split-second decision, I switched glasses with my sister Allie when she wasn't looking. It felt harmless at the time. Instinct. Nothing more. But what happened next proved everything. You see, my mother's always been the kind of woman who controls everything, from the clothes we wore to the people we were allowed to become. Her love came with rules. Her approval had a price. I spent my whole life trying to earn it. And that night, I finally realized maybe I never would. Hit like if you've ever had that moment, where your gut screamed louder than the voice trying to silence it. Because if I hadn't listened to mine, I might not be here to tell you the rest. And trust me, you'll want to hear what happened after Allie drank the wine meant for me. Growing up in our perfect Portland home, everything looked normal from the outside. White picket fence, Christmas cards, matching sweaters. But behind the doors, my mother, Elizabeth Sullivan, ran our lives like a performance. I was the lead actress, and every step I took had to meet her script. Sit up straight, don't slouch. B+ isn't good enough. Change that outfit, it makes you look heavy. She called it love. I called it pressure wrapped in pearls. But my sister, Allie, she was the golden child. Where I got silent glares and backhanded compliments, Allie got praise, affection, and applause. Her average grades? Well-rounded. Her messy room? Creative. Me? I learned how to disappear with a smile. I straightened my curly hair because she said curls were unprofessional. I gave up photography. Too artsy. I dated boys from the country club because they looked good in family photos. By 16, I had anxiety. By 20, perfectionism was so sharp it cut me from the inside out. College was my escape. Northwestern was far enough that surprise visits weren't possible. For the first time, I had space to breathe. Real friends. A future I chose. I let my curls grow back. I picked up my camera again. And when I met Nathan, gentle, steady, and never once threatened by my ambition, I felt something I'd never felt before. Safe. But when I told Mom we were engaged, she smiled that same smile and said, "Emerald?" How unconventional. That was the first clue. The second was the glass of wine she handed me on a night meant to celebrate love. The night of our engagement party, I stood in a cream silk dress, clinking glasses and smiling for photos in the ballroom my mother had orchestrated like a Broadway show. Everything was perfect. Too perfect. The chandeliers sparkled, the floral arrangements screamed old money, and the guest list, packed with people I hadn't seen in a decade but who simply had to be there, according to Mom. Nathan squeezed my hand as we made our way through the crowd. "We can leave anytime," he whispered. I smiled. Just a few hours. Then it's over. That's when I saw her, Elizabeth Sullivan, gliding toward me in a designer dress, 2 glasses of wine in hand. She handed me the red one with that familiar smile. Polished, posed, empty. "Champagne gives you headaches, remember?" she said smoothly. I didn't remember that, because it wasn't true. I lifted the wine to my nose. Something was off. Not the usual notes of berry or oak, no. This was chemical, medicinal. And in that split second, my instincts screamed. So when Allie turned to whisper to her husband, I swapped our glasses. I didn't even think. I just moved. "To new beginnings," Mom toasted. We all drank. And for the next 30 minutes, I watched her. Watched her watching me. Waiting. Only nothing happened to me. But something was happening. To Allie. At first I thought Allie was just tipsy, maybe dehydrated. But within minutes, her hands were trembling, her voice slurred, her eyes unfocused. James wrapped an arm around her. "Something's wrong." "I'm fine," Allie insisted, swaying slightly, but her face was pale, slick with sweat. Then she nearly collapsed. I rushed to her side. "Let's get her to the bathroom." She didn't make it far before falling to her knees, vomiting so violently I could barely hold her hair back. James hovered, helpless. "This isn't just wine," I said. This isn't normal." He was already dialing 911. When the paramedics arrived, Allie was barely conscious, her breathing shallow, her limbs numb. The elegant party Mom had curated turned to chaos. Guests whispered, waiters cleared glasses. "And my mother," she gasped. "Oh my God, what's happening to Allison?" She sounded shocked, concerned, but I couldn't shake the chill that crept up my spine. Because that wine, the one Allie drank, it was meant for me. Nathan drove us to the hospital. Neither of us spoke. My heart pounded with a terrible certainty I wasn't ready to say out loud. "She's only had one glass," James told the ER doctor. Tests confirmed it. Allie had been drugged, sedatives, and something else they couldn't yet identify. The doctor looked at us gravely. This wasn't an accident. And in that moment, I knew. This was intentional. I had to tell them. As the officers moved down the list of names, I stepped forward. "I need to report something." I told them about the wine, how Mom had brought it just for me, how it smelled wrong, how I switched glasses with Allie at the last second. The female officer asked, "Why did you switch them?" My voice shook. "Instinct. I don't know. It just felt wrong." Nathan took my hand. "Tell them what you're thinking, Cassie." I lowered my voice. "The wine came from my mother. She said it was because I get champagne headaches, which isn't true. She was watching me when I drank it. Watching like she was waiting." The officers exchanged a glance. "Would you be willing to give a formal statement?" I nodded, but inside I felt something crack. I found Dad in the waiting room and pulled him aside. "What's going on with her?" His shoulders sagged. "She's been obsessed, Cassie, about your engagement. She said Nathan isn't right for you, that you're making a mistake." "You knew she was unraveling?" I asked. "I thought it was her usual control. I didn't think she'd ever do something like this." Before I could respond, a nurse approached. "She's awake. Allison's asking for family." We followed her. But just as we reached the hallway, a police officer stopped Mom. "Ma'am, we need to check your personal belongings." She looked confused. "Of course. This is all just a misunderstanding." They opened her purse and found a diary. A small, leather-bound book. The officer bagged it as evidence. None of us had ever seen her write in one. But something told me that diary was about to tell the story Mom never meant anyone to read. Back in the hospital room, Allie looked pale, her voice barely a whisper. "Cassie, did you switch our drinks?" I nodded slowly. "Yes. I didn't know why. Just that something felt off." Her eyes filled with tears. "You saved me." That night, everything began to unravel. The diary revealed what I'd always suspected, but never let myself believe. In her own handwriting, Mom had written, "Nathan is too soft, too willing to let Cassandra slip further away. If the party doesn't change her mind, more direct measures may be necessary." The detectives told us she'd researched sedatives for weeks. She had planned this, not a mistake, not a moment of panic, a plan. Dad broke down. "I've known for years something was wrong, but I looked the other way. I failed you girls." I didn't have the heart to argue. He was right. Days later, at the preliminary hearing, we saw her again. Mom, diminished without her makeup, her designer coat replaced by beige clothes and silence. She didn't look at me, but the judge read the charges: attempted poisoning, reckless endangerment, assault. And I saw the flicker in her eyes. Not shame, not regret, fear of losing control. She took a plea, guilty to lesser charges, mandatory psychiatric treatment, probation, a restraining order. The reporter outside asked, "Do you forgive her?" I answered honestly, "Forgiveness isn't a moment, it's a process, and I'm choosing healing." And for the first time, I felt free. And that was the beginning of my freedom. Not just from my mother's control, but from the belief that I had to earn love by being perfect. Today, I live with boundaries, with clarity, with the peace that comes from choosing myself, not out of selfishness, but survival. And if you've ever had to walk away from someone you love to protect your peace, know this: you are not alone, you are not broken, and you are not responsible for fixing what someone else refuses to acknowledge. Have you ever had to make a difficult choice to protect yourself? Has your intuition ever saved you like mine did? Share your story in the comments below. I read everyone. And if this story touched something in you, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need the reminder. You're allowed to choose peace, even if it means walking away from family. Thanks for being here. Your story matters. You matter.